to live on his own. And Owen always rises to the occasion. And he learned that at Riverview because Riverview they would learn to just walk around town, go to dinner on their own. They would do all these things and it really prepared him, and he's thriving being independent. And that's because of that school. So,
yes. When we talk about the 1% affluent in this country, I'm guessing Owen is the 1% in terms of his parenthood and parenting and I guess money as well. What about the other 99% of kids who are autistic? What kind of lives do they have?
well, when Owen was diagnosed, Ron was a beat reporter who made no money. And Ron made his money because he's written all these books and he's done well for himself. But what they did was they went against what the doctors told them, and they encouraged his affinity, and they connected to their son because they would stop at nothing. And so, what Ron and Cornelia would say, any parent can love their kid and have that drive to get and reach their kid. The doctors didn't do that. It was them. It was their love. And I always say this is as much as a film about parenting as it is about anything else, because it's about how much they loved him and how much they were determined to connect with him. Now he's branched out. He actually got into, when he was being bullied, he actually got into the Batman films. He got into sort of the Dark Knight kind of thing. And he does voices a lot at Q&As, and he does the Dark Knight whole thing. But he's branching out. I mean, the classics, the hand-drawn animation is what he loves. He does not like Pixar, he does not like computer animation. He is hand-drawn all the way because of the emotion of it, because the way those guys drew those animated characters, they used a mirror to look at their facial expressions to draw those characters. I mean, it was a very connected, emotional thing, and that's how he learned his emotions, and he's still very connected to that. But he does now watch other films.
Broccoli.
As a storyteller, what is your thought process, in putting together the film? Because you do the narrative in which you go flashback, flash forward, flashback, flash forward. What was your thought process in doing that?
So the book takes place in the past. It's how Owen sort of, got to where he is today. And so for me, it was about following Owen in this really transitional year in his life. Because Owen, just so happened when I started the film, Owen was about to graduate. For me, it's a coming of age story. It's not a story about autism, it's a coming of age story. So Owen was about to hit all these universal things in his life. Graduation, he had fallen in love. He was about to become independent and live on his own. So it's about how he got there in sort of flashing back to those moments of how he got there. But it was really, most of the film is told in verite, following him through this year in his life. So it's a classic structure of a classic coming of age story with flashback.
They fit together.
How many hours?
We filmed a lot. We lucked out on that. But we filmed a lot. We were with him. What was important to me was that there was consistency in the filming, and that Tom Bergman, the cinematographer, was dedicated for 1 year to their lives, so that he was with them. He didn't work on any other jobs. He didn't do anything else. We brought him over he lives in Berlin, and this was his sole thing. So he was there with them all the time. So he was with one of the Suskinds at all times, and so it was, we did miss some big stuff because we'd be with Ron and Cornelia, or we'd be with Walt, and we should have been with Owen. Owen actually, at one point, set fire to his apartment, and we missed that. Everyone was okay, but they had to evacuate the building. But there were there were a lot of moments. These are the moments we got, but there were a lot of moments we didn't get.
Well, Roger, that leads me to a question. Were there any moments that you got but you couldn't put into the film or decided not to put into the film? Anything that strikes you that you would have loved to have in the film? Just good.
There's a lot. All in the DVD extras, iTunes extras.
Bonus, yeah.
There was a whole science line in the film. So Owen, my idea was always to get inside Owen's head. And we actually literally, at the end of the film, used to go to MIT. Owen goes into an fMRI machine. He watches Disney animated clips, and there's a camera on his eye, and Ron can actually see what happens to his brain at MIT. Actually, is a sort of breakthrough because they used to think that people with autism lacked empathy, and the part of the brain that showed empathy lit up the most. And what happened is that there now MIT, Cambridge, and Stanford have initiated a study of affinity therapy, which is reaching someone with autism through their passion, finding a pathway through their passion because of Ron's book and because of the film. And that was a moment that we took out the science because I wanted it to be about the emotion of the story, not about the
Coming of age, yes.
In this whole journey, what surprised you the most?
Owen surprised me the most. Owen is, I came in with the same prejudices probably a lot of people do, and I experienced also sort of traveling the country, traveling the world. I just came from Australia, New Zealand, screening the film. And what people don't really understand, that people like Owen are brilliant and have so much to offer the world. Owen taught me so much about story. There's someone who story and fable, and who is so wise in life and the ways of the world because of that. Because these Disney films are classic stories that have been told for thousands of years that Disney just ripped off and updated. so Owen is like, he becomes a guide to being human and to how we connect with each other. And I learned so much from him.
Was anything scripted?
No, Owen cannot. So the thing about Owen is that Owen cannot tell a lie. He cannot. He is who he is. So if I say to Owen, walk back through that door, he's like, I just walked through the door. How would I walk through the door again? He can't do it. That's just not who he is, and that's what's so refreshing, is that Owen is who he is. He will say exactly how he's feeling. He will tell you exactly what he's feeling. He will express his emotion. He has no filter. We all have this sort of filter. We have this bubble that, which sort of protects us from each other. Owen doesn't have that. It's so refreshing, and it's a challenge because he won't sort of act things out. But I don't like this. We feel sad.
When he spoke in France, was he speaking from something written, or was that just completely impromptu?
No, he wrote that.
He did write.
So that was the first conference in the world on affinity therapy because of the book. So because of the book, this university in France basically invited people all over the world, people working with autism and doctors, to come and sort of have the first conference and talk about and study the idea of affinity therapy. So they invited Owen, because he's the subject of the book, to come and speak. So he worked really hard on that speech. But it's interesting because Owen really surprised us all at that moment, even though there was that little tense moment where we thought he wouldn't speak at all. But because I knew that he would, because his bar mitzvah was the same exact situation where Owen blew, he stood up there and he blew everyone away. And it was a moment where I would actually, in the film, where I flashed back to his bar mitzvahs and showed that scene, but it sort of took you out of that moment, so we ended up dropping that. But his bar mitzvah was amazing, and I actually worked on his bar mitzvah video. Because Ron had asked me as a favor.
More DVD bonus material. Yes.
Yeah. So that's the last chapter in the book. The Land of the Lost Sidekicks was written by Owen, and it's the last chapter in Ron's book. So he created all the villains are created by Owen. Fuzzbunch, who you see in the film, who's the villain who breathes fog into your head, is symbolic of the autism and makes your mind fuzzy. it's his autobiography. So he draws these monsters that correspond to the challenges he has in his life. There's a monster that corresponds to when he was bullied in school. So all these, and it's a constant thing that he's sort of constantly writing. He's constantly writing and creating these monsters. It's how he deals with it. And the sidekicks are his advisors in his life. They sort of guide him through his life, and they're always with him. And he will say, if he was standing here, the sidekicks talk to him all the time, and they're always in his head. And whenever you see Owen, he's like pacing and talking, he's doing the voices of the sidekicks who are helping him sort of analyze and get through life. So that's his creation, and we just worked with this amazing animators in Paris, Comme les Gars, these French animators who brought it to life. So we took his story and his characters, the actual Fuzzbush, the villain, is Owen's drawing and Owen's rendering. And when he would say, if he was standing here, the first time he saw it, he said he was amazed. Is the word he uses. And he's just, he loves it. He's blown away by that, his story, he's blown away by it, but he also, he sort of just accepts it. It's sort of like, okay, all these people come out and they love my sidekick story, and when you say, if someone says, oh, and he's standing here and says, oh, and you're wonderful, you're amazing, he's like, I am amazing. I love that, because he just says what he thinks, and he's like, yeah, I am great, thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Roger. And you all guys.
How old are you now?
25.
Oh, this is 2 years ago?
Yeah, why do you ask?
You look so young, right? You look so young.
She thinks you look young.
I'm still young.
Yeah.
Any-
Yes, I have a question. I was talking to your father out in the lobby just a little bit ago. I asked him if you had seen the movie Sky High, because I was so, it's a Disney movie that deals with sidekicks and heroes.
And it's live action.
Live action.
With Kurt Russell, is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh, you're gonna have to pull that, you're gonna have to put that in your list.
Why don't you go through some of your faves? I know you don't like to pick one over the others.
like Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and The Lion King.
And what about the Pixar movies?
And the Pixar movies that are Toy Story 1 and 2, A Bug's Life, the first Monsters, Inc., the first Finding Nemo, the first Cars, Ratatouille, and Inside Out.
So you refer to yourself as the hero of the sidekicks. Are you a hero now too?
Yes, I am a hero now in the world, because I am a diamond in the rough. I care about a lot of people and a lot of things in the world. Yeah?
What was hardest about making the movie?
Well, what do you think was the hardest part?
Hardest part?
The hardest part about making the movie for you?
Well, for people filming, like,
You
how
know,
did you like being
Was
filmed?
it easy to make the movie?
Well, sort of a little bit easy
What was the hardest part
in the movie.
about making the movie?
The cameras following me most of the time.
When was that hardest? When was that hardest? Where you're saying, I don't want to hear
In 2014.
early on. But after a while, you kind of got used to it.
Yeah.
What do you think about the director? Good director?
Yeah, Roger's a good
Hey,
director.
Ellen, would you okay, you often pick sidekick characters of the hundreds of sidekicks.
Yeah.
Who would you pick, let's say, for Roger? Which sidekick?
I picked either Sebastian or Mushu.
Sebastian from,
Little Mermaid and Mushu from Mulan.
what are the qualities those
They're
characters have?
fun-loving, wacky, and hilarious, and entertaining. And they guide the heroines, Ariel and Mulan, to become the heroes they are today.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
So Owen, if you're a hero, which heroes are most like you?
Oh,
Just like you.
Several.
Oh, and do you feel like a celebrity now? Are you a celebrity?
No, I'm not really a celebrity, just celebrated in a big movie documentary this year, and next year I'm off.
January 1st, done.
January 1st, done.
The craziest thing about this is that I've been writing stories my whole life and books and the Wall Street Journal, and to see our family at the center of a story, and even to see Walter and Owen are kind of leading movements now. Walter is leading this sibling movement, and Owen is leading a movement that, as the key actor, that's changing the way people see the differently abled all over the world. And it's the joy that Cornelia and I feel, in a way, stepping back and seeing our kids step into these roles is it's beyond expression, the joy we feel. That's the big change. So what we're trying to do now is help people see that as a society we have a crisis with this many folks in the spectrum. The amounts of money being spent, because we're not really dealing with it, are gargantuan. And so we're trying to get policy to move forward. And after 20 years in Washington, we know a lot of people in policy, so we're poking them to get what we need. Yeah.
I'm a special education teacher, and I'd be curious to know what more supports Owen didn't get, what teachers should be doing more, how we can work better in our situations to help you and your children.
Yeah, well, so we're on that too. Again, we've just become a collecting point, a rain barrel for people from all disciplines, because the movie is so powerful and they come together. So what we're doing is we are doing what Tom Insel at NIH calls a reversing of the telescope on a lot of the models that are being used for our guys, our kids, our and what we're doing is strength-based and affinity-based therapies and education. Find out what their passion is. Owen is Disney. We've talked to thousands of kids. Harry Potter, Star Wars, astronomy, maps. There's a lot of them out there. But there is an array, and they repeat. So about 3/4 of the kids have video-based affinities. That's nice, and it's mostly the most popular stuff. So what we're doing is we built a consortium of neuroscientists and technologists to tap this passion, these interior motivations, and turn them into education, which is something we do otherwise when education works. So we built a technology called Sidekicks to do that, with a lot of neuroscientists and inventors of Siri, that kind of thing. And also educators are joining us and neuroscientists. Find what the kid's passion is. You know, it's more than floor time where you follow them around and mostly do what they do to pull them out. The choice they make, Owen's choice about Disney is a choice he makes. It's a part of his identity. And the DNA of all things is findable in everything if you know how to look. So you got to become an expert on Disney. There's plenty to work with. Or black and white movies from the 40s, or Star Wars. Like Bob Manukin is my buddy right here. Cass Sunstein at Harvard Law School, I teach at Harvard Law School. He just wrote a book about all knowledge and all insights are available from Star Wars. Well, he's right about that. And that's the kind of change that we're talking about. Owen shines powerfully because we use his passion as a pathway, and then he led. And that's what we're hoping for.
Yes?
So, Owen, what are your hopes and goals for the future?
What are your hopes and goals?
I have my job at Toys R Us and Regal, and also plan to get a job at the Cape Cod Institute Center for the Arts to teach the little kids how to draw character animation art, especially Disney and Disney Pixar there, which I'll do. And my dream is to draw character animation art, especially from Disney and Disney Pixar one of these days.
Message to Burbank, California has been sent out. And also voice work.
A little voice work too as well.
Temple Grandin is working with us now, which is fabulous. And she really focuses on a lot of these tonal issues, that the auditory processing is such a challenge. And part of what she says, in watching those movies again and again, he becomes comfortable with the tone of the voices, and he can hear them. And that's the way he then can start matching up sound with meaning. That's where speech grew. He used the visual images to understand the interaction of characters and what words meant. That's a big part of how the speech grew.
Is your dad a hero?
He's a hero, my brother's a hero, my mom's a hero. We're all great heroes.
Owen usually finishes a Q&A with a voice. Which one do you want to do?
Arthur and Merlin from the Walt Disney Children's Family Animated Classic film, The Sword and the Stone.
Okay,
The Sword and the Stone.
You should set up the scene now. What happens?
It's in the 60s. After they did the magic swirl test, Arthur and Merlin head back to the castle, and Merlin says to Arthur, "You know, boy, that long business is a powerful thing. Greater than gravity? Why, yes, boy, I'd say it's the greatest force on Earth." And I feel a whole lot of love in this room tonight and want to continue to feel a whole lot more love later on.